everybody is doing good. I'm doing a lot better today. Oh, I found a dance class that does Afro beats. So I shook my tail feather today, and it's definitely got me in a more hyped mood. And I hope you're feeling good today as well. Please hit that thumbs up button and subscribe button, please. Couple of things to get through today. A few very different things, actually, from what we usually talk about in this podcast, but there's a story I want to cover at the very, very end that kind of circles back to our little royal world that I think you'll find quite interesting. So let's see who we have. We have Gwen, we have Carol, we have Ernie, we have Heather, we have Lisa, Carol. Thank you everyone for joining us early. All right. Let me just do a few clicks on the back end and then we will get it moving. All right, first thing, let's talk about this today. Let's start with William. There's William with his digging with a shovel in the ground wearing a suit. You know, it's just the performativeness for me. You know, let me just say, I actually don't think that there's anything wrong with the sentiment of what William is trying to do. It's just the fact that it's on the backdrop of so many other royal scandals, and it's the fact that this is going to have such minimal impact. I mean, I believe the social housing that is being built is in a it's in a more rural area. Not to say that rural areas, you know, don't need these things, but they also need other things to be able to give them opportunities to progress in life. And the issue of housing is an issue that is tied to other social, political, and economic factors. So this is something that William, as future king, could spearhead and could lead the way or lead conversations with the government. Because it's really the government that have to look at the checks and balances and say, well, we know we need social housing, so how can we allocate that money to the social housing? Instead of allocating it to stupid wars that we keep getting into. So it just looks silly for William to be sitting here and saying, I think, how many houses were they even building? Wait, let me just check this. How many houses is Prince William building? It's just so silly to be sitting here and saying, oh, I'm going to build like a couple of houses. Meanwhile, we're spending hundreds of millions on a war. So he's building 24 dedicated social homes for the unhoused in Cornwall, 30 affordable eco homes, and 12 social rental homes on the Isles of Scilly. And at least 875 affordable homes, including 437 for rent as part of the South East Farsham development. So Duchy is spending about 11 million to build 30 affordable eco homes, plus redeveloping an old school into 12 social homes. Well, I mean, wasn't there a thing about what was that town that Charles had a hand in? Was it Pound Town? Pound Town? Let me just search for this actually, because I remember there was something similar that Poundry. Oh yeah, here we go, Poundry. That was it. So Poundry was built on the so Poundry was a development that was led by the Duchy of Cornwall and was endorsed by Charles when he was the Prince of Wales. So Poundry has been built according to the principles of Charles, who is known for holding strong views challenging post-war trends in town planning that were suburban in character. Since starting in 1993, the town has received both criticism and praise from architects and design critics. Let's have a look at some. So he's actually just continuing off of the back of something that Charles was doing anyway. That's what kind of clicked my memory. I was like, didn't Charles do something similar? And wasn't there like some controversies around this? So Poundry's street plan and aesthetics have been praised and criticized by several commentators. Poundry embodies social, economic, and planning innovations that can only be called radical. The design of this village was meant to reduce car dependency and encourage walking, cycling, and public transport. But at the end of the first phase, surveys showed that car use was higher than in the surrounding rural districts. It was also criticized for looking fake, heartless, authoritarian, and grimly cute. Yeah. The Guardian wrote that Poundry, the Prince of Wales's traditionalist village in Dorset, has long been mocked as a feudal Disneyland, but a growing and diverse community suggests it's getting a lot of things right. He argued that its main success was achieving genuine mixed-use development. Well, there you go. So I guess there's elements of William's project that are very much just an extension of what Charles is doing, I guess. Well, we'll see what actually comes of this. I mean, given William's history, I believe that he's very likely overpromising and he will inevitably underdeliver. Now, Liz Jones of the Daily Fail, and we know how the Daily Fail hates anybody below the poverty line, while pretending that they're advocating for the average person, and the average person is stupid enough to read the Daily Fail. Liz Jones from the Daily Fail said that the whole affordable housing scheme is a catastrophic mistake because William has never lived in the real world or had to deal with real life rentals or mortgages. And she basically thinks that William's scheme will fail because he's too dumb and privileged. I mean, okay. So she says, it sounded like a brilliant news story. The Prince of Wales has announced plans to sell off 20% of the Duchy of Cornwall land to build homes, saying he will invest 500 million in tackling the housing and nature crisis, befalling his kingdom. An obscenely worthy cause for the future monarch, especially as he promises to pump 160 million into housing solutions and affordable homes. The prince's announcement comes as we also learned that he and Kate are paying some 300,000 rent a year on their forever home in Windsor Great Park, Forest Lodge. The couple will still occasionally reside in Kensington Palace and Anmer Hall on the Sarindon estate in Norfolk, which was a wedding gift from the late Queen. And the majority of Prince William's private income comes from the 20 million a year he receives from his private estate, the Duchy of Cornwall property empire. Indeed, the Wells could not be further from being tenants who are subject to the whims of a property owner, nor will they ever experience the trials and tribulations of the housing market. Now, mind you, William has other rentals on the Duchy and Charles. And there was that huge expose not too long ago where they found that there was mold in the homes. Mold, when it gets bad, can actually kill you. Oy. which is why I find myself questioning whether he's the right person to be involved in this housing initiative. Would such a privileged individual ever be able to truly understand the difficulties he wants to help others overcome, presenting himself as a housing saviour to those in the duchy? Unless you have been unable to buy a house, been evicted, or forced to rent, you cannot possibly begin to comprehend how housing, or indeed the lack of it, affects every moment of your life. I lost my home in 2018 and had to rent from a private landlady, and I can assure you that in the depths of my housing crisis, I woke up each morning terrified. You can be seen as less than human as a renter and a financial liability as a non-property owner. Our future king has never lived in the real world. Oh, but remember, he did that one time, sleep on the streets. That one time. His intentions are, I hope, honourable, but just as doling out food in the soup kitchen for a brief photo opportunity does not cut it. So playing at being the benefactor is all optics. William's concerned face does emit empathy, but until you have walked the walk, please don't talk. Please don't talk the talk. Yes, he visited Centre Point as a child with his mother Diana. He slept rough. He slept rough with a black man. Oh my god! Every time that comes up, all I can think of is what Baron says and the way he says it. But only Baron can say it in the way that he says it. That just makes me howl. Oh my god! He's let rough for what? One night in 2009. Listen, like I said, I don't completely hate this housing scheme. I actually think the one place where this could actually fail is if it ends up costing a lot more, because with these big property projects, that actually tends to be what happens. The costs can very easily balloon, and then you got issues. Is if they had to put the money from the duchy, his inheritance, into something useful, is this something useful? Yes. But it doesn't solve a much wider problem across the country, especially in major cities. A lot of young people, a lot of newlyweds, even as couples, they're struggling to afford homes, even with two people on the mortgage. Lottie said, every time I look at William, I often wonder what kind of king he will be. I think that William is going to be the greatest king of all of modern times. I think he'll be the greatest. You know why? Because I think he'll be the most hilarious. I am genuinely looking forward to William's kingship whenever it comes. In fact, you won't get me off of this podcast when William becomes king. I'll be here every day. Because there'll be something to talk about every day. Resistance, you said William will not just underdeliver, he most likely won't deliver anything. I actually think that they're going to finish the projects. I do. I think they will. And then you'll find out soon after that they're all moldy. Oh. Okay. Next thing. Next thing. Oh, let's go over to Norway. Should we talk about the Norwegian royals? Other royals from other countries don't cross our timeline too often, so when they do, I think we should give them a little bit of shine, especially if they were also friends with Jeffrey Epstein. So Prince Haakon says Mette Marit's health has gotten a bit worse lately, and she's now walking around with a breathing device. So Norway's Princess Mette Marit has been out a few times in the past month alongside her husband, Crown Prince Haakon, For months now, whenever Marit has been seen publicly, she's worn a breathing tube. That's because her health has declined rapidly in the past few years, as she's been dealing with chronic pulmonary fibrosis. I would imagine that the extreme stress she's been under hasn't helped her condition. Back in February, her son Marius stood trial for multiple violent crimes against women, and the verdict in Marius's case is expected in June. And it's very likely that he will get a guilty verdict, by the way. I've read details of the case, and it's not looking good for him. And apparently one of the girls, he effed with the wrong family, and one of the girls is from quite a high-ranking arista family. And they're not taking this lightly. Additionally, Marit has made additional BS apologies this year because all of her lies about Jeffrey Epstein have been exposed. She had a relationship and friendship with Epstein for years in the 2010s, and in a recent interview, she was way too eager to give herself a pass on both the relationship and her lies. Well, Prince Haakon has given an update on his wife's health. Marit of Norway is seriously ill, according to her husband. The heir to the Norwegian throne, 52, spoke with reporters during an outing on May 26, where he gave a health update on his wife, also 52, who was diagnosed with chronic pulmonary fibrosis in 2018. The Crown Princess is seriously ill, and I think she has gotten a bit worse lately, he said, according to Norwegian broadcaster NRK. So I am worried about her health. These 6 months have gone pretty well, I think, but there are different phases, so we just have to try to solve it as best as we can. Yeah, so she's wearing the breathing device, and it's up to the doctors to decide, you know, how bad or how worse she's getting, and her own feelings, whether or not she'll keep wearing it. Yeah, so obviously her son is going through that trial. And people are saying that apparently it looks like she can't stand for longer than a few minutes. And that people are concerned about what Marius's verdict will do to her health, especially if he is convicted on all or at least some of the charges, which will likely happen. It will likely happen. And it's also being said that Marit will likely need a lung transplant. You know, I honestly just think being involved with royalty, being involved in these circles is one big curse. It's just one big curse. Out here being friends with Epstein, having to deal with entitled children who think they're entitled even to other people's bodies just because they're linked to royalty. Mind you, that's the son who isn't even a blood prince. He's not a blood prince. Yeah, wouldn't want this life. I would not want this life at all. Some people are speculating that perhaps she's not as ill and that this is a bit of an act to get sympathy. Believe what you want to believe. But all I'm gonna say is wouldn't want to be a royal. Because if you end up being friends with the likes of Epstein, what's all that, you know, royal life and crowns and titles, what's all of that even for then? If you're friends with the likes of Epstein. Would rather be absolutely normal. Thank you very much. Right, let's move back to our royals, our British royals, and our favourite of the British royals, Harry. Now, there was something going on with Invictus in Australia where the Australian government was reassessing funding for veterans, and as part of that, I guess Invictus also was affected. But apparently now the Australian government is backtracking. So a few weeks ago, the Australian government made broad financial cuts to veterans programs and funding for Invictus Australia. Now, some people argued that Australia's government was simply reorganising how they funded veterans programs. It definitely looked like and felt like an across-the-board defunding for many life-saving programs. That's what an Invictus spokesperson also said at the time, that the funding cuts would have an enormous human cost and would absolutely be a matter of life and death for some veterans. Well, good news. 2 weeks after Invictus Australia was defunded, the government has now decided to reverse course. Veterans Minister Matt Keogh tells the Current Affairs federal funding will be reinstated for the life-changing charity. I mean, why is it even up for debate about whether or not we fund veterans and their recovery and their lives after serving? Why is that even a debate? So when the federal government withdrew all of its funding for Invictus Australia, veterans say it was a slap in the face. The decision brought some tears. The organisation saves lives, so this wasn't a fight they were willing to give up on, and their efforts have paid off. So the government will provide another 3 years of funding to Invictus Australia. Congratulations, Invictus Australia. Congratulations, Harry. Amazing. Rachel Kerrang says Invictus Australia is the reason she's here today. The Air Force veterans' mental health deteriorated after serving in Afghanistan and returning to civilian life. In 2010, Rachel was diagnosed with chronic PTSD and severe depressive disorder. At one point, she was homeless and living out of her car with her daughter. Wow. She tried to take her life 3 times. Then she found Invictus Australia and competed in the 2016 Invictus Games in Orlando, Florida. Her life turned around. You see the impact that is being made to people's lives with Invictus? This is more than just a sporting event that's held every few years. It's so much more than that. This is why they're coming after Centre Ballet. This is why they're coming, and soon they'll be coming for Invictus if they're not already working on it. If they're not already working on getting some Sophie Chandauka and Ian Rowlandson into Invictus. I mean, great news. Great news for all of the Aussie veterans who are being helped by Invictus. And it also means that this high-level campaign to destroy Prince Harry's biggest cause is failing completely. They are terrified that Harry's legacy and history is going to speak for itself. There will come a day in history when all of the BS from the British tabloids and the institution will no longer carry weight. The day will come. It may not come today, tomorrow, next week, next year, but it's often when we look back at history, that's when people realize what was and what wasn't. And Harry's legacy with Invictus and Centre Ballet, as and when it is reinstated, and it will be 10 times bigger than it ever was when Harry gets control of his charity again. I claim it in Jesus' name. Harry's legacy as a philanthropist will stand on its own and will stand strong. And that's what the establishment can't stand. That's what the palace can't stand. Clark, you said when William is king, he will still be whining about his brother and Meghan. William is waiting to be king just so he can go after Harry and Meghan. And it is going to backfire spectacularly. So let us not worry about that. Lavender, you said another one faking health issue. Another one, hey. Who's the other one that was faking health issues? Who's the other one, Lavender? Donna, you said she was diagnosed with CODP a few years ago. A lung transplant is needed. Isn't a lung transplant even heavier than a heart one on the body, especially if you're elderly? And your body might actually reject the transplant. Lottie, you said, I thought that I read someplace that Harry and his family are visiting Charles in the summer. I mean, they're always speculating ridiculous things about olive branches and blah blah blah. But I think we're gonna get a fuller picture when Harry comes for Invictus. So it's remarkable to think about how many plans and events are still unannounced and seemingly up in the air, even at this late date. A short list of things for which there are no announcements and confirmations, right? Prince George's boarding school, not particularly important to me, by the way, or most of us. But in the royal world, where the future heir is going to school was always a big thing. And they delayed announcing that only for William to slip it out. William and Kate's alleged US trip in July, whether Prince Harry will arrive solo to Birmingham in July for the Invictus event, and whether the British government will give the Sussex family police protection if they visit. And those last two issues are important because we know that Harry wants to bring Meghan and the children over to the UK to see Charles. We also know that Charles has not indicated whether or not he plans to invite the family over. Now, this is just my guess. I think at the very last minute, they will likely give Harry and Meghan and their family security. I think if Harry does come, he will likely come with Meghan alone. I will be very shocked if he comes with the kids. Unless there is something very, very solid in that agreement, I will be surprised if he comes with the children. And I'll also be interested to know if they are going to meet Charles, under what circumstances and where. Ingrid Sewerridge, as I call her, is writing fan fiction saying that Charles may invite Harry and Meghan if they sign NDAs. Okay. You know, as if to suggest that it's Harry and Meghan that do the leaking. Now they're saying the invitation could be to Balmoral. I'm a little bit suspicious of any invite to Balmoral, because in the past it's been done as a way to isolate Harry. Like one of Charles's first acts as king was telling Harry that he couldn't bring Meghan to Balmoral after the Queen died. And it kind of feels like Charles doesn't want to see Meghan or the kids in Scotland whatsoever. Maybe Sarindom. Sarindom seems to feel like a more neutral ground. They could also just be making up excuses as to why Charles doesn't see Harry and Meghan and the kids if they do come. But you know what they can't make excuses for when Invictus happens? They will not be able to make excuses for why the royals don't show up to Invictus if they don't show up. I don't know how they will make up excuses for that. They are going to look really petty. they may not like Harry, but not showing up for veterans. I mean, they didn't show up for the Invictus anniversary that happened at St. Paul's. Even Preeti Patel got her butt out of the house to come and see that. And other UK government officials got their butt out the house and showed up. So what excuse are the other members of the royal family going to have when Invictus comes to the UK, to Birmingham, and they are not seen there? What excuse they're going to have? Okay, let's go to comments. Resistors. Oh, you said something about the kids. Let me just scroll up. Oh yeah, Resistors, you said, I doubt Harry will bring the kids because toxic British press will stalk them to make millions selling pictures. Yeah. I think if they did bring the kids, it would be it would be done on the sly. And also it would just be a lot to bring the kids, on a long flight, only to bring them back for like maybe the opening or the closing or something. Like that would be a long way to bring the kids for something that short. Unless they came to the UK and then also went somewhere else for a holiday or something like that. I don't see that. Unless they bought the kids for the whole. How long does Invictus run? It runs like just about a week or something. I don't know if Harry and Meghan would bring them just for like 1 or 2 days. That's a lot of flying for little kids. Since when has the Kim Petty ever stopped at other members of the royal family? Indeed. Who's this? This Claire. Carlene, you said Charles doesn't deserve to see those children. He is a bad father, not to be trusted. Plus, Charles only care about himself, Camilla, her children, and grandchildren, period. I mean, his actions so far have unfortunately said that. Unfortunately. And it's a darn shame. Because Harry has tried. Like he said, his conscience is clear, and it should be. He's tried. And he's probably still trying, by the way. I don't think Harry has stopped trying to make his father see sense. I think he'll try until the very end. I mean, I do believe that Harry will be at Invictus by him for sure, at the very least. But there would need to be some stone cold agreements before Harry brings his family. Wendy, the royals never met the kids. Why would Harry bring his children to be paraded for clips? Well, he's not bringing them for no reason. Like the only reason I'm even theorizing that they could come is because of Invictus. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this conversation for real. Anyway, last but not least, can one of my American friends tell me what episode of the Orange Presidency I'll be on now? Just to finish, what episode is this? We are building a whole wrestling arena on the White House lawn ahead of the 250th anniversary celebrations, and also this will be on Trump's 80th birthday. What episode of the Orange Clown Presidency is this? Have y'all ever seen the movie Idiocracy? This is literally what happens in that movie. Well, not this exactly, but if you watch the movie, you'll understand why I'm making the comparison. I have no words. Dana White, I believe the head of the UFC is called. Is it Dana White? Dane White? Something like that. Um, an absolute POS who knocked out his wife in public, hit her in public. He's actually on the cover of Times, a friend of Trump's. And for me, this is the absolute epitome of um okay, I lost my train of thought. This is like I'm trying to think of like how I'm gonna say this. When I think of men like Donald Trump and Dana White, it's like the misogynist bullies got to run the country, but the problem is that when you elect a clown, you get a circus. That's what this is. Those are the words I was trying to find. Elect a clown, you get a circus. Elect a clown, and you get a wrestling arena being built on the grounds of the House of Politics, of the House of the People. And all this because they didn't want to elect a woman of color. Y'all, I have nothing to say. I have nothing to say. Because what do you even say about this? I mean, you just have to laugh. Even though absolutely nothing about it is funny. Episode America is so ghetto. Oh my god. Presidential trash era. You know, we're having conversations at the moment about, encouraging more positive models of masculinity. And this is like, um, there's something about a wrestling event being held at the House of Politics, being run by this, misogynist men. It's like this misogynist ideology really just wanting to shove it in everyone's face that we're here and we're in power. You're gonna have people knocking each other's brains out in front of the White House. That pretty much sums up politics. Knocking each other's brains out, and we've got nonsense. Yeah, what can you say? It's a thing that's happening. You know, I grew up really believing that if you wanted to be a politician, if you wanted to be someone in office, you had to carry yourself with a certain level of respectability. Yes, I believe that also. I honestly believe that he didn't win. Elon Musk stole it for him. Having said that, a lot of people did still vote for him. And that is very sad. The whole hold my beer episode. Oh. They're all Donald Trump clones. A mess. An absolute mess. Listen, you lot need to kick him out. This cannot go on to the end of the presidency. Kick him out immediately. Revolution immediately. Okay. Well, to be honest with you, this might actually be the first time I watch UFC. It might actually be the first time. Just so I can see how absolutely crazy this entire thing is going to be. And with that, I'm going to wrap things up here. Thank you so much, everyone, as always. Really do appreciate y'all. Hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow. Hit the thumbs up button, please, before you exit, and links in the bio if you want to donate to the channel. It does help. I am still fundraising for my candle line, but I will give a more detailed update very soon. Thank you to everyone who has donated. to that so far. I think you've donated almost like a third. So very much appreciate that, folks. All right, catch up tomorrow. Ciao.